Hello, and I'm privileged and honored to be with you here today in this wonderful webinar that you will learn a lot from both of us. This Dr. Mary Markowsky sitting right next to me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dimas, and thank you so much. I know it's a Friday afternoon, so we really appreciate you joining us this afternoon to learn more about developing a positive climate in your classroom.
I would also like to ask you if you have available a piece of paper and something to write with, because I'm going to do shortly a very short exercise and I would like you to participate. It's very interesting. But I also would like to begin with a quote from Albert Bigelow Paine, author and biographer. What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others and the world remains and is immortal. Now, the idea, most of us know, and I'm sure you do also, that learning styles have been around for years and take many forms. There are many uh, learning styles, surveys, and questionnaires. And we at Path to Success take a practical approach because we want to combine the best of learning and personality styles. This dynamic approach will provide for you insights that will enhance the teaching and learning experience. We also have, in Path to Success, encourage a positive interaction in the classroom between teachers, students, and students to create a positive learning climate. You will gain insights into personal styles based on left and right brain functions.
And if you think about differentiating instruction and how differentiating instruction tends to look at the skill level of the students, what we're discussing today is another tool that you can bring to it and to also include looking at the child's predominant personality and how that predominant personality lends itself to learning and instruction and so on for success.
Why it matters. It is difficult to reach all students with a single approach. We have to look for ways to reach them all with different approaches. According to Rad and Schoenberg, personality traits are expressed in learning styles, which in turn are reflected in learning strategies, which eventually produce a learning outcome. Personality traits serve as directors for motivational and learning strategies. Research has shown that knowing your personality type is important because your preferred approach to learning is related to your personality type. What do we know? Specific learning styles are more dominant for certain personality types. Knowing your personality type is important because your preferred approach to learning is related to your personality type. Our objectives: enhance communication between teachers and their students, improve student performance in school and at home with their homework, reduce stress in your daily classroom as a teacher and the students' classroom work. Understand which personalities to group for teamwork, and that way will enable every student to succeed. Now, going into personality background. 460 before Christ, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, a Greek doctor, was very observant of his patients, and he decided to guess more or less about their temperaments. And he said that the patients that had a lot of blood in their system, he named them sanguine. The people who had a lot of black bile in their system, because he used the humors, he said they were melancholic. People who had a lot of phlegm in their body, he called them the phlegmatic, and the people who had the yellow bile in their system, he called them choleric. From then on, we go to Carl Jung, Swiss psychiatrist, who in 1921 had the book of six personality types and how we function in our personalities. Now, Myers-Briggs is a mother and a daughter who in 1962 liked Carl Jung's work, but they had to translate the book in English because they wanted to come up with an indicator, which they called the Myers-Briggs type indicator, that when people take the test, and it's done a lot in businesses, they come out with 16 personalities. From there, we go to David Keirsey, clinical psychiatrist. In 1967, he said that all people had four personalities, and he gave them the words artisan, like the sanguine, guardian, like the melancholic, rational, the phlegmatic, and idealist, the choleric. It was like a pair. He was pairing it with Hippocrates, his four temperaments. And then we come to Dr. Markowsky and I, who throughout the years we have done our own research with our clients, and we have decided to use four names that we have observed with our, like we did like Hippocrates. We observed our participants in their trainings, and we spoke to them when we met with them, and we call them creative is like the sanguine, precise is like the melancholic, analytical is the phlegmatic, and compassionate is the choleric. Now, what we're going to do here, I hope that everybody has a piece of paper and something to write with, because this exercise will help you a lot to understand about the personality. So if you do, I will give you a few moments if you can pick up a piece of paper or something to write with briefly. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
We can hear you well.
Okay, great. Okay, this exercise we do in our trainings with the participants so that they can discover what their personality is. That's why the pictures on the top have a 0, because I always ask them, let me know what you know about your personality before we begin. And some will say, I know this, I know that. Some will not raise their hand and say, no, we'd rather you do it with us. So this is how it goes. At the first line, we have to the left, extroversion. The E represents extroversion. On the right, we have introversion. The I represents introversion. In a research that was done in the US many years ago, they came up with the population being 75% extroverted and 25% introverted. What the extroverts do, and I am going to read something for you, and when I tell you, if you have the piece of paper and the pencil, I'll tell you what to do. Extroverted people like variety. They work at a rapid pace. They need people because they're sociable, like it says there, and they talk their ideas. They're always talking. Introverted people are territorial. They need their space. They go at a steady pace. They concentrate by themselves alone, and they think before responding. This is how, like it says in the middle, how we interact and use our energies. If you can choose from either side who you are, I would like you to put an X or a check mark in the spaces that you see there. Either extroverted or if you're introverted. Now we'll go to the second line. Sensing, we have the S, and intuition, we have the N. Although the word begins with an I, we use an N because the I goes in introversion, so we can't repeat it. Now, these two are how we receive and notice and remember the information. The sensing people work with their experience. They usually bring the past into the present. They like specific directions, and they work with real things. The intuitives like hunches. They like possibilities. They use the imagination, and they enjoy theory and speculation. Again, if you are a sensor, you use the S. If you are an intuitive, you use the N and put the mark on each side that you think you are. Only 1 mark per line. Now we'll go through the third line. Thinking and feeling. The T for thinking, the F for feeling. This is how we use our logic, or we use our personal values. If you're a thinker, you like to analyze problems. You're a fair person, and you're motivated by achievement. If you're a feeling person, work for you is meaningful. You like helping others, and you like to contribute. Again, put an X or a check mark on one side or the other, and we'll go to the next one. Judging and perceiving. J for judging, P for perceiving. This is how we run our lives. And like it says in the judging, we like to run our lives, and like they say, and everybody else's. We are predictable. We maintain control of projects. If we're perceivers, we like everything to be with open options, we respond to problems, and we need to have fun. That's very important. Now choose one or the other and put the mark where you think you fall in. Okay, now this is what we do. In this exercise, you go to the top. If you are an extrovert, you bring that E to the line at the bottom at the beginning. If you came out an introvert, you bring that I down to the bottom. Then you go to the second line. If you're a sensor, you bring that S next to your second letter. If you are intuitive, you bring that N and you bring it to the second space down there. Now you go to the third line. If you're a thinker, you mark that one. You bring the T, that should be your third letter down there. If you're a feeler, that should be your third letter down at the bottom. In the fourth line, if you're judging, that J should be your last letter at the bottom, or that P should be that last letter at the bottom. And you should have there a 4-letter code. Okay, now if you're finished, I'm going to ask, and I hope you can hear me. If any of you who did this can tell me what your code was, if you can write it down, and I'll describe in the chat room. Write your code, and I will read what that means. Okay, Irvin, here it goes. ENTJ. Okay, I'm reading. Now, after I read, Irvin, you let me know what percentage that is you. 100, 94, 78. Okay, ready. You enjoy working with others, born leaders, ready and willing to command people for launching major enterprises. Will coordinate all the steps in the operation of any project. You are a given person. You are decisive, outspoken, and will rise to positions of responsibility and enjoy running the show. You have the ability to visualize where the organization is going. You prefer to learn and work in an open, challenging, and questions way. Now, Irvin, let me know what percentage of that is you.
All right, right on.
Wow. You got an A, Urban. 99 point now. You were paying attention. Okay. Can somebody else do the same and give me a code if you did it?
Here, Roxanne has a code.
Roxanne.
ISTP.
Okay, here we go.
ISTP.
I'm going to read, Roxanne. You enjoy working independently. You are realistic and not convinced by anything but reasoning. You love to play and work with tools. You look for any opportunity for fun and games. You act as a troubleshooter and remain calm during crisis, having a settling effect on others. You prefer to learn and work in a lively and entertaining style. Let me know your percentage.
And
90%.
wow.
Wow. Boy, you
Okay.
both got A's. You're honor student. Okay, is there any other person who wants to add another one before we continue?
Okay, they did great.
Okay, you did great. Let's go on. This we do with teachers in their first activity to discover their personality, because then we go, and I'll tell you the reason why it's a little different. Bear with me here. Okay, usually throughout the years when we've done training and people come with their code and they say, I did that already, the Myers-Briggs, and I've only had one person once who said to me, I know my code, and they gave me the code because people forget. So that's why we come down now to 4 personalities. If you remember in the background, these are the 4 personalities that we named: analytic, precise, creative, and compassionate. And what we do in this exercise is we use a card sort activity. And if you can all see me on the camera, these are our cards in English, in Spanish, and in Mandarin because we've done training in China. So we have them. And we do an exercise also with all the participants where they go and do their personalities. And after they finish, they write in charts. This is an active training in a school in Elizabeth, working with teachers. And I want you to notice, if you can see, not everybody's sitting at a desk. And in a few moments, I'll tell you why. Because usually that's not the way a classroom works, correct? But the activity before that we did, comes with this activity also, that we take all the people who did their personality, we separate them by personality in groups,
And it's their predominant personality.
and they work in their predominant personality, and they tell us what are their strengths, what makes them happy, what do they value, and what do they need. After the exercise is over, then they all stand up and present the characteristics of their primary personality. Remember, we all have 4 personalities, but we have one that is very strong, and that's the one we work with. Because the other 3 really fall into place when you do that. Now, research says that if you are an analytical personality, these are your strengths. You're visionary, you're serious, you like global concepts, you're independent, and you use precise language. If you are, and your values would be, and sorry that this moved to the side, it's skewed, right? You like logic, you like competing accomplishments, you like to design systems, and you like relationship with purpose. Your happiness, solving a problem, time for reflection, meeting a challenge, strategic planning, big picture process. And what you need is space, answers, data to solve problems, accuracy, and to be mentally creative. Let's not forget that these are the same characteristics of our students also, which they use them in their classroom every day. And sometimes they drive us nuts, right? Okay, our path to success for analytical students. Students will ask many questions, and most of them are, what if? They enjoy reading, nonfiction books. They like challenges. They are inquisitive about the world and self motivated. Our analytical students, if you've ever heard of the Puerto Rican singer Mark Anthony, he has a song that says, I need to know. They need to know, and so do the adults.
As Dimas was going through these with you, think about your students in your classroom and see whether or not you think some of them could be leaning towards analytical.
Now we come to the precise students. Their strength. They like order, details, they're predictable, responsible, and generous. Their values, loyalty, punctuality, organization, perfection, and commitment. Their happiness. They like service. They like to serve. They like to be volunteers. They like discipline, completing tasks, volunteer activities, and job satisfaction met. They need to respect the rules, they need stability, and they need people who follow expectations. Now, their path to success, they like clear rules and directions. These students, when you give a lot of rules and a lot of directions, you lose them. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. They need a consistent classroom routine. The same thing. If you change your routine, they feel a little lost. They work step by step. They are detail oriented, and they are comfortable when everything is organized. Creative strength. They're adventurers. They accept challenges. They're negotiators. Do it now. Entertainers. What they value: creativity, movement, play, taking risk, and success. What makes them happy? Excitement, freedom, variety, fun, humor. What they need? Applause, challenge, spotlight, results, and flexibility. Creative students move a lot. They need to move, and there are strategies for that, and that's biological, and they can't help it. Okay? And also, they like variety in their classes. If we do the same thing every day, they get bored very easily. So do adults. Path to success for our creative students: they need variety or we will become bored. They enjoy change. They like open-ended questions, and they really need the big picture first. Our compassionate students, what are their strengths? They're spiritual, they're romantic, they like making a difference, they cultivate the potential in others, and they write and speak very well. What do they value? Honesty, feelings, compassion, supporting differences, personal relationships. What makes them happy? Friendship, people, acceptance, family, and to be of service and helping others. What do they need? Harmony, affection, nurturing, to be inspired, and romantic gestures. They're love people. They call them the lovebirds. Path to success for compassionate students. They enjoy working with friends. They like to share and be part of a team, always. They need people all the time. They need encouragement, and they avoid confrontation. They don't like trouble. In our personalities, we do have stress as adults and as children. And understanding personality types can help us resolve conflicts. What stresses the analytical personality? Routine, incompetence, emotional displays, not being in charge, inability to use their knowledge, lack of recognition of their ability. What stresses the creative personality? Reading manuals, waiting, personal criticism, routines, deadlines, lack of fun. For creative people, everything is fun, so they need fun. And learning has to be fun. Believe me, it really has to be. And it can be done. Precise stressors: waste, irresponsibility, disorganization, changing details, people who don't follow through, and too many things going on at once. Compassionate personality, they don't like to be lied to, they don't like conflict or rejection or broken promises, too much negativity, or placing the system before people. Usually, these students and adults, if it's working or they're in school and they pressure them to do what they have to do, they will say, I have to work with my friend or my buddy because he has or she has a problem, and then I'll do the work, and that's final. Okay, now, conflict resolution types. In this exercise, first one says tends to retreat and keep the peace. And I want you, my participants, to respond through the chat. What type of personality do you think that one is?
Is it compassionate, or is it precise? Is it creative, or is it analytical? Which predominant personality type would tend to retreat and want to keep the peace? Passionate. Okay.
There you
Irvin's
go.
right there.
Right there, Irvin. Okay.
Correct. Terrific. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. And let's think about the predominant personality type that finds temporary solutions to a conflict. The key word here is temporary solutions to a conflict. Which one do you think that is? Anyone? Irvin? Because you're on a roll, Irvin. Let's see. Did somebody say it? Irvin's typing. Give the types again. Give the types. Irvin wants to hear the types.
Compassionate, creative, analytical,
Precise.
and precise.
Compassionate, creative, analytical, precise.
You already got compassionate.
So compassionate's already there. So it's either analytical, creative, or precise. Creative.
There you go.
He's winning the lottery.
Okay. Okay, so
next one.
who stands up for important issues of the four?
Who do you think, which predominant personality type would, say it's important that we do what's right, stand up for the issues? Again, the types are, well, we already did compassionate, we already have creative. So all that's left is analytical and precise. Jose.
Jose, you got it.
All right.
All right. So what do we have left now?
So it's obviously, you want to read that, Dimas?
Waits to do it tomorrow. Waits to do it tomorrow to avoid stress. The precise. Okay.
Those were the.
Oh, it went back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to go into the personality myths, which are the learning myths. I'll go back a little while because this happened this morning also. Okay. Myth 1. Students and adults learn and work best when seated upright at a desk or table. The need for formal and informal seating is biological. So if you could see the picture on the left, it's a traditional classroom. Picture on the right, they're all over the classroom, on the floor, sitting at tables, standing up. And that's how students, this time, in 21st century, that's how they work. And usually, when they have good grades and when there's no discipline problems, it can be done and it works. That's a different classroom. Myth 2. It is best to work in well-illuminated areas because dim light damages people's eyes. The need for bright or dim light is biological. There are strategies in the classroom to work with these types of things for the students that we do during the training and we show the teachers.
Fluorescent lights.
Fluorescence lights work by flashing on and off around 100 times per second. We don't see it, but it does happen. That's in the research. And this is what happens. It releases the hormone cortisol, which interferes with the energy supplies of the brain cells used to recall facts. During prolonged exposure to fluorescent light, many students and adults get stressed, intellectually tired, restless, and agitated.
I'm sure many of us have felt the effects of fluorescent lights.
Okay, myth 3. Students and adults learn and work more and concentrate better in an absolutely quiet environment. The need for sound or quiet is biological. Many students and adults need background music while they study and work. These are a group of employees working with background music. That's a graphic design that was made from an artist we have, and they're brainstorming ideas. These are teachers in a workshop having tactile discussions with background music. And it's tactile because they're using yarns to move it around and ask questions.
So, Dimas, in this exercise, are they connecting to each other through that yarn?
Yes.
What are they doing?
One asks a question, and whoever answers, they'll pass them the yarn. And that's how they keep moving with the yarn, asking each other questions until they finish with the yarn or the questions.
And this is to provide music and tactile.
Yes, and this has background music because they wanted background music on it. These are teachers. Myth 4. Students and adults who do not sit still and are not ready to learn and work. Of course, the need for mobility is biological. Here we have 3 examples. Daily exercise in school. Every school, I'm sure in your countries also, they do during the day some type of exercise for the students. The other picture has students doing exercises outside, and there is such thing as some people do meetings while they talk and they move because they need to move and stand up. All of this is biological, and there are strategies that we bring with us to explain to you in your classrooms. Also, these things happen in the workforce also. People need background music, they can do it, they need to move, and they can do it also. Here you have children who need silence, they wear headphones. And in this classroom, this group on the table is working with headphones. The others are not because they're okay with the noise. And if you see at the bottom, there is a kinesthetic math exercise where they're moving. They're all moving in math. Now in our next one, this is a training for parents that I did in China in 2013. And if you look at the screen, I had done the same exercise I did with you, and they enjoyed it a lot. And this activity that we did here was with music also, and they moved around, and they chose a partner who stood right in front of them to ask and answer questions. As you can see in their faces, they were pretty happy about it, and they enjoyed it a lot.
So through this activity, they were learning about their predominant personality style, right, and how it impacts their learning style.
And they were discussing whatever they knew about personality with each other, and they did it in their language. Of course, I didn't understand it, but Mr. Gao here, the professor who was my interpreter, he explained it to me. This is a group of teachers also from China when I went in 2013, and these are principals and teachers. And this is an activity that is also done with music and in circles, and they enjoyed it very well because this has to do with how do you feel when you have to use somebody else's shoe, and it's very entertaining.
So in other words, they take their shoes off, and then how do they
They
select
move
which?
with the music,
They move
and
with
when the music stops, wherever they stop, they have to try to put on those shoes.
So when they put on that shoe, do they have to take on that person?
Well, it's usually yes, but what they say is no, it's not comfortable because it's not my shoe.
Okay.
Or they say it is comfortable, so I'm okay with it. And that's why you say sometimes you're comfortable in your personality, but sometimes you're not. And we have to really make changes.
So prior to this activity, they had already participated in identifying which was their predominant.
They knew the personality.
So this was the follow-up.
Yeah, this is follow-up.
Okay.
Now we come to myth 5. Eating and drinking should only be allowed during recess and not during lessons. Here you have at the bottom a teacher with water bottles for his students. You have a student with his water bottle, and you have high school students having snacks. Of course, they have to be healthy during their learning periods. It is recommended that water should be room temperature because research says that if it's frozen, it takes longer to reach the brain. And really, if it's temperature to the environment, all they take is a sip because they're usually not thirsty. Just need to hydrate the brain. Myth number 6. Teaching the whole class in a group at one time is the best way to learn. There's a student working by himself on the floor in the classroom. These young ladies are at the table. The ones in the back are sitting on the floor and others are standing up. So there's different ways that they can learn, and that's what they call individualized instruction also, and it's biological. So now myth number 7, I'm going to read it and I'm going to ask you. Effective instructions require established goals followed by detailed step-by-step logical and sequence explanations until everyone understands what is being explained or taught. Now, those examples, the example that I gave you before, I just want to ask you something.
Want to go back?
Yeah, I want to go back. When we talk about personalities, if you can tell me if this is a left-brained person or a right-brained person, and if it's analytical, precise, compassionate, or creative. If you can't, I'll tell you what it is, but I see someone writing. Very good.
Luis.
Go for it, Luis.
This would be precise.
Exactly.
All right.
Now, I want you to listen very careful. This has to do with the left and the right of the brain. So I want to remind you, if you take the analytical and the precise, they're from the left brain and they need these instructions. If you take a creative and a compassionate, they're from the right of the brain and they don't need instructions this way. They'll be here, there, and everywhere. That's the same way students are. That's why when you learn about the personality, you know how to group them and put them in the lesson that they belong. If it's something that's going to be like this, detailed and step by step, the creative students and the compassionate students will not work that way, and you'll have issues in the classroom. Okay, classroom dynamics for success. The question here is, how can I reach each of these students in my classroom? How can I differentiate instruction in my classroom? What can students learn from each other's? And how can students learn to appreciate their strengths and those of other students?
Today, what we've done is, especially Dimas, has provided you with an overview of identifying predominant personality traits and what do they mean within our classroom settings and interpersonal relationships. What Dimas has just shared with you now are the questions now that we ask for our next step. How do we apply all this to reaching our students and to benefit our interpersonal relationships also.
Okay, we're almost at the end. When principals, teachers, and parents understand how personality impacts your learning style and personality, students learn their way. Academic achievement increases, and we will hopefully be developing lifelong lovers of learning. In our programs, we have surveys for adults and children, and we have surveys also for staff members who are non-instructional personnel. When these surveys are answered, it's a 35 statement like this one. I hope you can see it. And when you tabulate it, you will see like a brain in right there. So that's when you put the information and you find out which side of the brain you are and which personality you are. And then we go into the strategies and the interpretation manual so that you can work with all your students and the teachers can work with each other.
Okay, if you would like to take it to the next step and uh, move it to application of how we can reach these students in the classroom and would like further information or further trainings, you can contact me through my emails and Dimas Lopez in English or in Spanish through his email. And we really appreciate your time and your participation, especially on a Friday afternoon.
That's
And
right.
we wish you a great weekend, and we look forward to receiving your emails because we would like to continue corresponding with you. We appreciate your interest. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Dimas. Thank you so much for your presentation today. It's indeed a very interesting topic, and it can really make a difference in the classroom. Now I will open the floor for the participants for questions. So if you have any questions, please write on the chat. Meanwhile, I just want to remind everyone that we are going to be uploading a recorded video from this webinar in our YouTube channel, and also sharing the PowerPoint presentation and details of this webinar in our virtual community. Link for accessing both should arrive to you after we finish the webinar. So I don't see any questions in the chat. I guess the presentation was really clear. Let's see, Arvin is typing.
Will we be getting?
So the document will be uploaded in the virtual community. We have an area in the virtual community that it's for webinars. So it should be there in 1 week from now. If you're not familiar with the virtual community, it's the website. I'm going to type here. It's itenamericas.org. And you can register there and check the webinar area.
Okay, I would like to say thank you. And we would like to do this training in any place that you think it's needed. But if we can't, we are available through email and we can assist in any way that we can to help you, you know, be successful in your schools. So
So we look
count on
forward,
us.
yeah, we look forward to corresponding with you.
You can
Thank you very
count on
much.
us. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I guess questions regarding the package of instructions can be maybe done through email directly to Mary and Arvin and on how to implement it, or would you like to reply to this
I'm
now?
sorry, to do what? Can you repeat that?
Arvin is asking, does getting the full package instructions
Yeah,
cost?
it
Which
would be
schools
best
have to
probably
invest
if
in?
Irvin emails us so we
Or
can
it's
get a
open
sense of
source?
what he would like to do, and then we can provide him with information as to if there is a
Mm,
cost for them to invest in and how we would work with them. Where is Irvin? Irvin, where are you located? Irvin, where are you located? What city?
perfect.
Which area? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to wrap up the webinar right now. Thank you so much for both of you and for all our participants today.